The hour is 7 p.m. Having arrived, I'll call to order this regular meeting of Keene City Council. This meeting is televised live on Channel 1302. The video is also streamed on the city's website and is posted on the website by the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. If you would like to receive an electronic city council packet to reference while viewing future broadcasts, please contact the city clerk's office during regular business hours or go to the city's website and subscribe to the city's meetings email list. The agenda is also accessible from any mobile device. This time I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Brian J. Lake.
Here.
Michael J. Remy.
Here.
Gladys Johnson. Michael Giacomo. Randy L. Filio.
Here.
Robert C. Williams.
Here.
Philip M. Jones.
Here.
Andrew M. Madison.
Here.
Chris C. Roberts.
Here.
Raleigh C. Omerod. Bettina A. Chadbourne.
Here.
Catherine I. Workman.
Here.
Mitchell H. Greenwald. Kate M. Bosley.
Here.
Thomas F. Powers.
Here.
All right, thank you. Councilor Jones, would you please lead us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we have a couple of congratulations for Councilor Mike Giacomo. He's not here tonight, but his birthday was on April 17th. And as a very nice birthday present for him, he and his wife Rachel welcomed their first child on April 16th. And their baby's name is Soren John Giacomo. And he was a big baby, weighed 9 pounds, 2 ounces. So congratulations to the Giacomos and their new addition. This evening, I'd also like to invite Officer O'Donnell to come forward with a new member of the department, the Canine Blanca. So if you can come up here, if you don't mind. So this is the city's new canine, Blanca. So Officer O'Donnell, do you have any words or can you tell us a little bit about Blanca?
I can. This is Canine Blanca. She is a 3-year-old German Shepherd. We purchased her from the Ronin Dog Training Facility. They are based out of Holland. She was born and raised in Holland for about 2 years, and then she was transported to their training facility in Tennessee at about 2, and then she trained there for about 6 months or so. In September of this year, I drove to Tennessee and began training with Blanca for about 2 weeks. She is trained in tracking and apprehension and also narcotics work. We trained for about 2 weeks while we were there, and then we spent 2 days driving home together. And now she is part of my family, and she is my everyday patrol partner. She's now 3 years old. We're currently we're working on our current certification. We train every Monday through the New Hampshire Canine Academy. We go all over the state. Currently, we're in Epping every Monday working on our certifications, which will be coming up in a few weeks. And we work 3 patrol shifts a week, and then we're always available for call-outs for tracking and anything that patrol may need.
Well, thank you, Officer O'Donnell, and welcome, Blanca.
Thank you very much.
Do you speak Dutch?
So I speak a little bit of Dutch, German, and then she has some English commands. So most of her commands when I started with her were in Dutch, but whether I was saying them wrong, she kind of gave me like a cross-eyed look. So we just figured it out, and we changed some commands to German, which were a little bit easier to respond to, and then we have 1 or 2 commands in English. She's really a smart dog. I truly have to hold the dummy end of the leash and learn from her. She's really a smart dog. The best thing about Blanca is she has the ability to turn it on and turn it off. She's become a very important part of our family. We have a family dog. I have 2 children, and there's no animosity in the house. She really has worked well with everybody. So she's been a good mix for our family, for the PD, and She's a really good dog. We're lucky to have her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Out of here.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. So one final reminder and encouragement for all the city councilors to participate in Green Up Keene coming up on Saturday. There will be a drive-through supply on Railroad Square where you can pick up trash bags and gloves and the safety equipment that you need. And there's a map on the city's website where you can sign up to clean up a specific area. As I said before, we need a lot of cleanup this year, so hopefully we have lots of volunteers to make the city look its best. Pre-registration is also really encouraged, which you can do on the website or by calling Public Works, is that right? Finally, the workshop on the city's branding effort has been rescheduled. As you all know, it is scheduled now for Wednesday, May 4th at 6 p.m. at the airport terminal. And the city's project consultants will be there to present this project and get our feedback, so that'll be good. With that, I would be looking for a motion on the minutes from Councilor Powers with a second by Councilor Bosley, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to accept the minutes from the April 7th, 2022 regular meeting as printed.
Second.
And we have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. This brings us to our public hearing for the evening, and I would ask the clerk to please read the notice of the hearing.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Keene City Council pursuant to a petition from the City of Keene to consider Resolution R 2022-13 relative to the absolute discontinuance of a portion of the Commercial Street parking area in accordance with the procedures set forth in RSA 231.
And this public hearing is the public's opportunity to weigh in on this discontinuance. I would request that City Engineer Don Lucier give us a little review of the project.
Thank you, Your Honor. Don Lucier, City Engineer, here tonight on behalf of the petitioner, Court Blomquist, Public Works Director. So the petition that the hearing is on tonight is for the discontinuance of a very small portion of the Commercial Street parking lot / roadway. So this property has a kind of a interesting, convoluted history. 1969, the City Council laid out Commercial Street and the Commercial Street parking lot as a public way. I think they did that at the time because that offered certain legal protections to the city that weren't available if it was just a parking lot. And that's been that way ever since 1969. It's been modified over time. Most recently, I think 2 years ago now, the council did a modification of that right-of-way as part of the Colonials redevelopment project. We discontinued a strip of it to facilitate their redevelopment. The area we're talking about tonight, and hopefully you can see that's on the map here, it's triangle sliver of land that's shown in a red highlight. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, the Keene Planning Board received an application for a boundary line adjustment between the skate park parcel and the larger Commercial Street parcel. The Commercial Street parcel includes the alley that runs between Mon Ami and the Colonial. It also includes the bike path from Main Street all the way down to this corner here. So as part of that boundary line adjustment, about 700 square feet of what had been laid out Commercial Street parking lot was transferred to the parcel that the skate park sits on. And that was done basically so we could square up its parking lot, or the skate park parcel, and line those boundary lines up with what the fence line is today. Before the property line actually went through a corner of the skate park. But now that leaves this corner of the skate park parcel as being still laid out public way. And we're just trying to clean that up, so it's largely, technical kind of an action, but we do want to keep the legal definitions clear. So we're asking to discontinue the portion that was transferred from the Commercial Street parking lot parcel to the skate park parcel. And going forward, the skate park parcel will continue to have access on a public way along the southern boundary and also about 3/4 of the eastern boundary, 72 feet on the former and 107 feet on the latter. And I think that's the summary of it, and I'd love to take your questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any immediate questions from the council, recognizing that there will be a discussion on this at MSFI at some point? Okay, seeing none. At this time, I'll open up the public portion of this public hearing and invite any members of the public to please come forward with your questions or comments to the microphone there and start out by stating your name and address for the minute taker. Last call? Okay. Seeing none, I will close the public portion of this hearing, except for written public comments, which can be submitted until 1 p.m. next Tuesday, April 26th. Written comments must be signed and submitted to the city clerk by the date and time included in the record. As I mentioned, this will also be discussed at the MSFI committee meeting, who will be making a recommendation to the full city council at our next regular meeting, or a meeting next month. And with that, I would move to confirmations, number 1.
This evening, we are going to be confirming the mayor's nomination of a Gregory Kleiner to serve on the Historic District Commission as an alternate. It would have a term to expire December 31, 2024.
Any discussion on the confirmation? Seeing none, this does require a roll call vote. Will the clerk please call the roll?
We didn't get the motion to confirm.
Oh. Council Powers, would you give us a motion first, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to confirm the nomination.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Any discussion on the actual motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald? Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And the nomination is unanimously confirmed. Number 2.
This evening, the mayor is appointing a new ad hoc committee. Its charge will be to evaluate strategies and make recommendations to address housing stability in the city of Keene. And the name of the ad hoc committee is the Ad Hoc Committee on Housing Stability. It includes membership of the mayor serving as the chair, Councilor Lake, Joshua Meehan, Jennifer Alexander, Doug Iso, Craig Henderson, Natalie Darcy, Stephen Bragdon, Jennifer Sayer, and Stacy Pickford, and Rebecca Landry will be serving as staff.
Thank you. I'm looking at Councilor Powers for motion. Councilor Bosley for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to confirm the appointments.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Any discussion? This is a show of hands, so seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. This committee will have its first meeting on Wednesday, May 4th at 3 p.m., and it'll be meeting every first Wednesday of the month thereafter. Which brings us to communications, number 1.
Our annual request from Pathways for Keene for use of city property for the 4 on the 4th road race.
And this will be referred to the Planning Licenses and Development Committee, number 2.
Our annual request from the Keene Swamp Bats. It's a request to discharge fireworks on 2 separate dates, one being after the regular game on July 3rd in conjunction with Independence Eve, and the other after the regular game on July 16th.
And this will be referred to the Planning Licenses and Development Committee, number 3.
Communication from Councilor Powers, and he is submitting the request on behalf of many individuals and organizations in the city, and the request is to rename the Keene Recreation Center to the Brian A. Mattson Keene Recreation Center.
And this will be referred to the Municipal Services, Facilities, and Infrastructure Committee, which brings us to committee reports, number 1.
Planning License and the Development Committee standing report relative to the Farmers Market of Keene. It is a request to use city property. On a vote of 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends that the Farmers Market of Keene be granted permission to use 22 spaces along Gilboa Avenue and 18 spaces on the other side of the median strip in the Commercial Street parking lot on each Saturday, commencing April 23rd and extending to Saturday, October 29th. Said permission is subject to the following conditions: the furnishing of a certificate of liability insurance in the amount of $1 million, naming the city of Keene as an additional insured, the signing of a standard revocable license and indemnification agreement, the receipt of a total rental fee of $932. Access to the city's electrical shall also be provided at a fee of $60 for the season. Obtainment of all necessary permits and licenses, compliance with all laws, compliance with any recommendations of staff. In addition, the petitioner agrees to comply with any recommendations of the Federal Center for Disease Control, the state of New Hampshire, and the city of Keene, including compliance with any general guidelines, laws, or ordinances enacted to ensure the health and safety of the general public that may be in effect as a result of the COVID-19 virus. It is further recommended that the Farmers Market of Keene be allowed to erect sandwich board signs on city property prior to the start of sales, subject to review and approval by city staff with respect to the number and location. Signs must be removed immediately after the sales have concluded.
For the first of many times tonight, I want a motion from Counselor Bosley and a second by Counselor Jones, please.
I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
And we have a motion by Counselor Bosley, seconded by Counselor Jones. Counselor Bosley.
Thank you, Your Honor. PLD had quite the agenda, so I'm going to keep a lot of these items really short. A lot of these things are not new to, in front of the council. This is the Farmers Market's annual request, and the only change from previous years is that they are going from 2 days down to 1 day, so they will just be hosting the market on Saturdays. And we unanimously requested that you approve this.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Number 2.
Planning License and Development Committee report relative to a request to sell alcohol at the farmers market. On a vote of 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends the Cabana Falls Winery be granted permission to sell alcohol and provide individual product samples to patrons at the 2022 Farmers Market on city property, licensed to the farmers market in accordance with the requirements of the State Liquor Commission. Said permission is contingent on the following: compliance with any recommendations of the Federal Center for Disease Control, the state of New Hampshire, and the city of Keene, including compliance with all general guidelines, laws, or ordinances enacted to ensure the health and safety of the general public that may be in effect as a result of the COVID-19 virus, submittal of a signed letter of permission from the farmers market, obtainment of all necessary permits and licenses, and compliance with all laws.
Thank you. Counselor Bosley for a motion. Counselor Jones for a second, please.
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
And we have a motion from Counselor Bosley, seconded by Counselor Jones. Counselor Bosley.
Thank you. This is the Cabana Falls Winery's first time requesting to sell alcohol at the farmers market. They had already done what they needed to do to get their paperwork in order with the farmers market. This is not the first request we've ever seen to have alcohol sales at the market, just the first time that this particular vendor is requesting it. And they appear to be the only vendor this year that is making this request. We unanimously approved it, and we hope that you will also.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Number 3.
Planning License and Development Committee report relative to a discharge of fireworks by Keene State College. On a vote of 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends the Keene State College be granted permission for the discharge of fireworks on Saturday, April 30th at no later than 10 p.m., subject to the following conditions: the signing of a revocable license and identification agreement. Keene State provide a certificate of liability insurance with the city of Keene listed as an additional insured in the amount of $1 million. The fireworks vendor provide a certificate of liability insurance with the city of Keene listed as an additional insured in the amount of $1 million. That a Class B fireworks permit be obtained. The Keene State College provide campus security to control the fireworks drop zone. In addition, the petitioner agrees to comply with any recommendations of the fire department and the Keene Police Department, and agrees to absorb the charges for any city services provided.
Thank you. Counselor Bosley for motion, Counselor Jones for a second, please.
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
And
Second.
we have motion from Counselor Bosley, seconded by Counselor Jones. Counselor Bosley.
Again, this is the second annual request from Keene State for the discharge of fireworks. Last year, their student body tried to come up with an idea for a socially distanced event, and this was the result of that, that student body. And it was so successful that this current year wants to repeat it. We didn't have any issues with anyone that, from the original event, and we unanimously approved it, and we hope you will too.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Seeing, Counselor Williams.
I don't want to spoil anybody's fun. I like fireworks too. I do have concerns that we're getting a little carried away with having a lot of fireworks displays in Keene. I know dog owners have concerns about it. It's kind of bad for the environment. But one thing that really got to me, last time we had a fireworks display near a neighborhood, the day after on Facebook I saw a note from a woman who had an autistic child who was, they had not been notified of the fireworks, and flashing lights and banging in the sky can be terrifying for a child like that. And I do think we need to do a better job of notifying the community, perhaps with posting, and in general, I think maybe we don't need to have quite so many fireworks events in the future.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Number 4.
Planning Licenses and Development Committee report relative to a request to use city property for a youth triathlon. This is from the Keene Family YMCA. On a vote of 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends the City Council grant permission to the Keene Family YMCA to sponsor a youth triathlon on Sunday, June 12th, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., including the closure of Summit Road just after the YMCA entrance and Summit Ridge Drive, where it intersects with Summit Road, subject to the following: the signing of a revocable license and identification agreement, the submittal of a certificate of liability insurance in the amount of $1 million, listing the City of Keene as an additional insured. This license is conditional upon the petitioners providing an adequate number of volunteer race marshals to ensure runner safety along the course, and subject to any recommendations of city staff. The petitioner does agree to absorb the costs of any city services provided and agrees to remit said payment within 30 days of the date of invoicing.
Counselor Bosley for a motion, Counselor Jones for a second, please.
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Bosley, seconded by Counselor Jones. Counselor Bosley.
Thank you. So this is the first request from the Keene YMCA for this triathlon, youth triathlon event. In this request, they are asking for the complete closure of Summit Road. We did have some questions regarding the impacts to the neighborhood. It appears that 90-something% of the neighbors do have additional access out of that area. There are only 2 houses that will be negatively impacted, and the Y has made arrangements for transportation for those houses if need be during the event. After discussing their ability to network within their neighborhoods and the associations that are in that area, we did decide that they had done enough organizing to make this successful, and we unanimously approved it. We hope you will too.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Number 5.
Planning Licenses and Development Committee relative to a request to use city property from Keene Pride. On a vote of 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends the Keene Pride Group be granted permission to use downtown city rights-of-way on Sunday, September 18th, to conduct a Keene Pride celebration, including participating downtown businesses decorating their storefronts for the week leading up to the event date, conditional upon the following: this license is granted based upon the event scope presented to city staff during protocol meetings held to date. Changes or additions to the license may require that an amended license be issued by the council, and no changes to this license or the associated protocol documents will be accepted after August 1. The furnishing of a certificate of liability insurance in the amount of $1 million, naming the City of Keene as an additional insured. The signing of a standard revocable license and identification agreement. The agreed-upon footprint and layout for the event shall encumber Central Square, including the travel portion of the road requiring the following road closures: Central Square, West Street at Central Square, with a slip lane for eastbound West Street traffic to go south on Main Street. Roxbury Street from the west easterly side of the Hannah Grimes parking lot to Central Square. Washington Street from Vernon Street to Central Square. Court Street from Winter Street to Central Square. And Railroad Street from Main Street to the westerly entrance to Wells Street. The petitioner is permitted to place porta potties and a dumpster in city parking spaces located at the base of Washington Street, and additional porta potties on Railroad Street from Friday, September 16th to Monday, September 19th, which will be changed together and affixed to ensure they are not vandalized while unattended. That the actual event will be held from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. with the times for setup and cleanup to be established by staff. That free parking be granted under the provisions of the free parking policy for city parking spaces on Washington Street and Railroad Street needed for the storage of equipment from Friday, September 16th to Monday, September 19th, and spaces within the event footprint on the day of the event. The submittal of signed letters of permission from any private property owner for the use of their property. Petitioner agrees with any recommendations of the Federal Center for Disease Control, State of New Hampshire, City of Keene, including compliance with any general guidelines, laws, or ordinances enacted to ensure the health and safety of the general public that may be in effect as a result of the COVID-19 virus. Said permission is granted subject to obtainment of all necessary licenses or permits in compliance with all laws and compliance with any recommendations of staff. Further, if the petitioners believe that they have insufficient funds to conduct this event, that they submit the application for community funded event status and request a waiver of the City Council policy. And finally, that the petitioner agrees to absorb the cost of any city services over and above the amount of city funds allocated in the FY23 community events budget, if any, and agrees to remit said payment within 30 days of the date of invoicing.
Thank you, Councilor Bosley for a motion. Councilor Jones for a second, please.
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
And we have a motion from Councilor Bosley, seconded by Councilor Jones. Councilor Bosley.
Thank you again. So this is the Keene Pride's first event of its kind. The plan is to close off Central Square and to allow Main Street to remain open, but to close Railroad from Main Street to Wells Street. The plan, they would like to hold private events at businesses throughout the week, culminating in this festival on the 18th, so that it would be starting 9/11 and ending on 9/18. They seem to be a very well-organized group of people. They have already met with our Human Rights Committee and the Monadnock Coalition on Diversity, Inclusion, Equity, and Belonging. And there were plans in place to be meeting with the LGBTQ groups at the high school and the middle school. So their protocol meetings were all met, and the committee very happily unanimously recommended this, and we hope you will too.
Okay, any comments? Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to thank the petitioners. I think they were well organized, and I did ask a lot of questions, and they had some great answers, and I want to thank them for that. And the chairman did mention the Human Rights Committee. If you look at the 6 goals of the Human Rights Committee, I believe this fits 2 of their goals right here. So it's a great community thing they're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Further comments, questions? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. And I just say that having a pride event in this part of the state has been talked about for years and years, and it never got to that critical mass. So I'm really thankful that it's finally there. I think it's an important thing for this community. So thank you. Number 6.
Planning License and Development Committee report relative to a request to use city property. This is for the 2022 Pumpkin Festival, and it's from Let It Shine. On a vote of 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends that a license be granted to Let It Shine, Inc. to use downtown city rights-of-way on Saturday, October 22nd, to hold the Keene Pumpkin Festival, subject to the following provisions. This license is granted based upon the event scope presented to city staff during protocol meetings held to date. Changes or additions to the license may require that an amended license be issued by the council, and no changes to this license or the associated protocol documents will be accepted after September 1. The petitioner agrees to absorb the cost of any city services over and above the amount of city funding allocated in the FY23 community events budget, and agrees to remit said payment within 30 days of the date of invoicing. The furnishing of a certificate of liability insurance, the amount of $1 million, naming the city of Keene as an additional insured, signing of a standard revocable license, an identification agreement, and associated protocol documents, that the agreed-upon footprint and layout for the event shall encompass Central Square, including the traveled portion of the road requiring the following road closures: Central Square, West Street from Federal Street to Central Square, Roxbury Street from Roxbury Plaza to Central Square, Washington Street from Vernon Street to Central Square, Court Street from Winter Street to Central Square, and Gilboa Avenue from Main Street to St. James Street. The petitioner is permitted to place 10 porta potties in city parking spaces located at the base of Washington Street from Friday, October 21 to Monday, October 24, which will be chained together and affixed to ensure they are not vandalized. That the actual event will be held from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. with the times for setup and cleanup to be established with staff. The submittal of any signed letters of permission from any private property owners for the use of their property. The petitioner agrees to comply with any recommendations of the Federal Center for Disease Control, the state of New Hampshire, and the city of Keene, including compliance with any general guidelines, laws, or ordinances enacted to ensure the health and safety of the general public that may be in effect as a result of the COVID-19 virus. That free parking be granted under the provisions of the free parking policy for city parking spaces on Washington Street needed for storage of equipment from Friday, October 21 to Monday, October 24, and spaces within the event footprint on the day of the event. And finally, the petitioner agrees with any other recommendations of city staff.
Better you than me tonight, Patty.
Yeah.
I'm looking to Counselor Bosley for a motion, Counselor Jones for a second, please.
I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Bosley, seconded by Counselor Jones. Counselor Bosley.
Thank you again. So this is the Let It Shine board that is bringing this event back before us. They actually had a break during COVID, but this is a relatively new board. There's one member that's retained from previous years. Like Patty had explained, the idea would be to close off Central Square, to have Main Street remain open, and to close Gilboa from Main to Federal Street, I believe. This is going to be sort of a medium-sized event, a little bit bigger than what we've seen in the past couple of years. They would like to include some vendors and some nonprofit agencies this year to sort of get some community involvement back in, and the committee unanimously voted to recommend giving this license, and we hope you will too.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Number 7.
Planning License and Development Committee report relative to a request to use city property. This is from New England Aerobatic Club. On a vote of 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends the City Council authorize the use of the Dillon Hopkins Airport by Chapter 35 of the International Aerobatic Club for the date of issuance through December 31, subject to the execution of a revocable license and identification agreement, the receipt of an insurance certificate in the amount of at least $1 million, naming the city of Keene as an additional insured, and all other requirements of city staff, including but not limited to the following restrictions: compliance with any requirements of the FAA, limiting the practice sessions to not more than 5 for the year. There will be no Sunday or holiday practice sessions. Aerobatic activities shall not occur below 1,500 MSL. Limit aerobatic activity to the southern portion of the aerobatic box established by the FAA. Restrict use of the aerobatics box until after 10 a.m. Invite neighbors to the mandatory safety briefings held on practice days. And further, that future requests be handled administratively by the airport director and/or city manager.
Thank you. Counselor Bosley for a motion. Counselor Jones for a second, please.
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
And
Second.
we have a motion from Counselor Bosley, seconded by Counselor Jones. Counselor Bosley.
This is another annual request by the New England Aerobatics Club to host their 5 practice days. These 5 days will not occur on holidays or Sundays, and they are not allowed to advertise these as some sort of air show, but each practice day will be notified in advance on the social media for the airport, just to give neighbors some advance notice that they'll be happening. If you are a subscriber to the airport social media, I think this would be a really cool event to go down and utilize the restaurant and take a look at while these gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen do their practice sessions. We unanimously voted to approve this, and we hope you will as well.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Number 8.
Planning Licenses and Development Committee report relative to the Ash Swamp Brook ERZ. On a vote of 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends to the City Council the addition of the Ash Swamp Brook ERZ to the Economic Revitalization Zone Tax Credit Program.
I'm looking to Counselor Bosley again for a motion. Counselor Jones for a second, please.
I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
I'm going to motion from Counselor Bosley, second by Counselor Jones. Counselor Bosley.
Thank you, Your Honor. So this is the last one for me for this evening. It appears that the state had actually received requests from local companies in this area, and they reached out to us to ask us if we would consider including this into an ERZ zone. Their criteria for qualifications would be improvements to infrastructure and creating a job. So they must invest in the plant or equipment and also create at least one full-time job in order to qualify. And this benefit would cost nothing to the city. These are all strictly state business tax credits. So there's just value for us and people investing in our community, and we thought this was a great addition. We hope you will too.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Number 9.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to the redesign of the Wheelock Park Campground for disc golf and a dog park. On a vote of 3-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute a professional services contract with Dubois and Keene for design services required for the redesign of Wheelock Park Campground into a disc golf course and dog park for an amount not to exceed $29,888, and with funding to come from Project Cost Center 90291.
Thank you. Counselor Powers for motion. Counselor Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were joined by Andy Bohannon, the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Facilities, and reminded us that this particular project has been in the works for quite some time. We've had a lot of interest in both the dog park and the disc golf course park by several groups within the city and outside the city. So much so that we've got a couple of groups that have raised some money towards this project. So it's pretty encouraging to know that people are willing to come forward and work with us to develop more parts of the city for the use by everybody in the city. So this is a design and feasibility project, and they would like to award the contract to Dubois and King for the design services to work with the staff and the other committees and folks interested in the area to come up with some concept and to really understand that both of those projects can be used in the property that the city owns out there. Both proposals, I said, have been around for some time. The citizen interest has been great, and the fundraising in one particular portion of this project is fairly significant, although we know that there'll be some significant costs for two projects like this. But once we have a design, it'll be easier for groups to raise money. Now, at the same time, we need to remember that we had another request to look at that site in the last few weeks as another possibility. And I'm sure that as some of those issues develop, there'll be some more interest, or it'll be decided otherwise. But having this base design will be helpful for all those kinds of decisions to be made in the future. And it's really time for us to make a forward movement here as to making some kind of plan come together for these two ideas. So we voted unanimously to recommend that this be authorized, and we hope the city council will do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions? Counselor Williams?
Yeah, I just want to talk about the concern that, you know, we've closed a campground here. It was a few years ago. We still have a need for camping in Keene, as was very strongly expressed in this room not too long ago. Reopening Wheelock Park is one of the options that's been mentioned. It wouldn't necessarily be my first choice. I have other things that, you know, maybe would be a good idea, but I think it's an option that we should evaluate. And so, to give us time to evaluate, I would like to perhaps put the brakes on this motion for time for the Committee on Housing Stability that's just been set up to meet 2 or 3 times, and maybe just give us some feedback of whether this is something they're looking at, or if we should go ahead and spend the money to do this design work.
Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for, yep, Counselor Roberts?
I'm a little confused from Councilor Williams. He had talked about putting the brakes on this. Was he making an amendment to this motion, or?
Well,
Counselor Williams?
I was hoping for a little discussion first, but if it's appropriate to make an amendment, would it amendment, should we table it, or what would the procedure be here?
You could make a motion to table to a date certain. It does require a second, and it's not debatable. You could
Okay.
also you could refer it. I'm looking at our rules right here.
Could we send it back to committee? Would that be appropriate?
You could, so you could refer it back to committee, and that does require a second, and that is debatable.
Okay, I would move to send this back to the FOP committee.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to send it back to FOP. Any discussion? Counselor Roberts?
Yes, Your Honor, I do not support sending this back to FOP. If I remember correctly, it was about 2008 or 2009 when the people came in front of the city council and said they would like to start raising funds for a dog park, and the goal was to raise $10,000. The people who came back here in 2008, 2009 to raise the money got a commitment from the city that we would be supportive and we would be working for. So now we're looking almost 13 to 14 years, and we're finally coming up with a possibility of where it could go. We talked to the people with the skate park about raising money. We talk about the people with the disc park about raising money. We have to be good providers with them. We have to agree, if we tell the people, organizations, you raise this money, we'll work with you. A lot of other communities pay for everything, excuse me, and in a lot of cases, we have people and organizations that raise money to improve the quality of life while saving the taxpayers money. Also, one of the reasons the campground was closed down was because, yes, we had people who stayed at the campgrounds during the summer just so they could save money, so they could put down deposits and security deposits so they could stay in a warm place during the winter months. We had realized that wasn't necessarily workable with a number of different liabilities and stuff. And so I can't see sending it back to FOP when we've already addressed a number of these issues.
Thank you. Further discussion? I have to agree with Counselor Roberts. I usually don't weigh in on things before you all vote, but just with the history of working with the dog park folks, you know, there are a lot of options that are out there. Housing is definitely a huge need in the community, and no one's denying that, but my suggestion to the council is don't cut these folks off at the knees. We have to remember that these are community groups that are trying to build momentum behind this idea. And I just, even if we vote to delay this, I don't want those folks to feel like dejected or like that the city's not behind their ideas, because I've heard lots of support for them. Any discussion? Councilor Williams?
Just to say that I'm also very supportive of the dog park. I really hope we can get one. I'd love to have it on the east side. If you're, Robin Hood Park makes a great spot to walk your dog, I think. So just putting that out there.
Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Your Honor. I did second Counselor Williams' amendment, but only because I wanted to see it out there for discussion, because I thought it merited. I think we can still continue to discuss this, but I have no problem with the design plan moving forward. So if the amendment fails, I'll still vote for the design plan. But I think there is that elephant in the room that we still need to talk about, and somewhere along the line that's got to be discussed.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Jones. And I agree, and anybody who wants to discuss the housing has the option to come to that meeting on the 4th, and we're trying to move that along as expeditiously as possible. Any further discussion? Again, this is on the motion to refer. So seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, looks like the motion to refer fails. Which brings us back to the main motion, the committee report. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. So that brings us to number 10.
Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee report relative to the sole source for imprinted crosswalks downtown. On a vote of 3-0, the Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee recommends the manager be authorized to do all things necessary to waive bidding requirements under Section 2-1336 for the repair of the downtown imprinted crosswalks.
I'm looking at Councilor Powers for a motion. Councilor Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Remy. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were joined by the Public Works Department, and this is a sole source contract for some repairs downtown. You're all familiar with the crosswalks, and some of them look, what'd you say, terrible? Terrible. I agree, they do. But that's a fact of life when you have as much traffic as we have in the downtown area. They are some of the better crosswalks because of the design. It's imprinted into the asphalt, and then the white coloring that's in it, plus the sparkle, is all put together under heat. And it's interesting enough that the only firm in the easily accessible New England area that does that happens to be here in the city, in the area, and has done it for us in the past, and is available to do this repair work. So it is a sole source situation where we really don't know anybody else, nor would we want anybody else to attempt to work on those, because it's a repair. We're not starting from scratch with a new process. We're going to fix those areas, particularly the travel lanes of the crosswalks that have worn out. And typically, depending upon which one it is, it's between 3 and 5 years to how well they last. So this repair will get us through a fairly good period of time, and there may be some redesign of the area at the end of that period of time. But it's already in the budget, it's available, and as I said, it's sole source, but it really meets the criteria for us to vote on it. We recommended unanimously at the committee level. We hope the council will do the same.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. City Manager.
Thank you. Just a couple of announcements for you this evening. I'm excited to announce on July 1st, the City of Keene will have a new Community Development Director. Jesse Rounds, currently the Planning Manager in Boulder, Colorado, will be joining our team. Jesse has a master's degree in urban and regional planning from the University of Colorado. He has a bachelor's degree from Bates College in Environmental Studies with a concentration in resource management and policy. He has 16 years of experience in urban and rural planning, working the last 13 of those years for Boulder County in Colorado. He is skilled in writing development and management plans and guiding residents and business owners through the planning process. He understands the importance of communication with all stakeholders, creative problem solving, and teamwork. He's done a fair amount of work as a community liaison earlier in his career, dealing with significant flooding events in Boulder. In addition, back in March of 2020, at the very early stages of the pandemic, he was temporarily reassigned to Boulder County Public Health to support the county's COVID response. His education, well-rounded experience, and approachable demeanor and positive attitude will make him a great addition to our team. So we're excited to welcome him, his wife, and he will have a newborn baby when he joins us as well. So he's looking to build his family here in the city of Keene. One last thing. Last Friday was our city clerk's birthday, April 15th, so I'd like to wish Patty a happy birthday.
It's like tax day.
All right, thank you very much. That brings us to officer and department reports, number 1.
This is our monthly report from the finance director on donations the city has received, and they include a bench as well as a donation to the K-9.
That's great. So I'd recognize the city manager to go down the list of donations.
We just have 2. If I can find them, I will happy to do that. I just misplaced it, sorry. Got carried away with Patty's birthday. Thank you. So one of them is in the Keene Parks and Rec Department. We received a donation totaling $1,350 from Papagallo's Restaurant and Jason Riddle to purchase a bench through the Adopt a Bench program in honor of their friend and coworker, and I'll say this wrong, Svetlana Liana Harrell. The bench will be placed in Robin Hood Park, so we're very thankful for that donation. And also, reason we had Blanca here tonight is we have a donation for the Keene Police Department. We received a $100 check from Edward and Krishni Paul. Their check is a donation made in the honor of Brian Coster's invaluable service to the community and is to be used for the department's K-9 program. And they've been doing this for a while, and we're really grateful for their support. So those donations total $1,450.
That's great. Councilor Powers for a motion, Councilor Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to accept the donations.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Remy. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous, and I want to extend the city council's and the city of Keene's appreciation for the donations. And that brings us to board and commission reports, number 1.
This is a memorandum from the Conservation Commission asking for a delay in mowing for the month of May. So the tagline of no mow May. And I guess it is to encourage little animals to do pollination bees and such. And that's from the Conservation Commission.
So I'm going to refer this request to the city manager to determine what areas of city property can be not mowed in May to participate in No Mow May. So that's that. Ordinances for first reading, number 1.
A memorandum from the Community Development Department is the introduction of ordinance 02204, an ordinance relating to amendments to the Land Development Code, and this would deal with dwelling units.
So this is an important step for addressing housing and trying to promote and encourage new housing units. And so this will be referred to the Joint Planning Board, Planning Licenses and Development Committee. Which brings us to resolutions, number 1.
Financial Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to resolution R-2208, and we recommending the adoption of resolution. And we have resolution R-2208, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the City Hall parking structure maintenance
file the report, and I'm looking at Counselor Powers for a motion to adopt. Counselor Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to adopt Resolution 2022-08.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a project that's already within the CIP program. However, the cost of doing the repairs to the garage have exceeded what's in the fund or in the particular project for this year. And it's the situation we are in with so many of our projects that the cost of doing business has just increased quite a bit. So it's a total appropriation of $52,300, but this action will move $20,000 from the unallocated parking fund balance to the City Hall Parking Structure Maintenance Project. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, this does require a 2/3 roll call vote, and I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
And Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And the resolution is unanimously adopted. That brings to an end our regular agenda. I want to thank everyone for their time and attention this evening. We stand adjourned.